I just bought some Tootsietoy dollhouse furniture off of eBay. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, Tootsietoy is my absolute favorite of all dollhouse furniture. Started in the 1920s, was sold in the Simpson Sears catalog, popular little girls' items. The houses that went with them, however, were made out of cardboard, so not a lot of those are left. So you can see here, I believe those are the original seats. They would have been kind of a blue, not velvet, but a blue silk material. But they, as you can see, they faded to a dirty gray color. So I'm not 100% sure if they were originally gold. When you see them on eBay, they usually are gold, but I'm not sure if they've just been spray painted that color. Maybe somebody that's more of an expert on it can maybe comment below and let me know. So there in the bag is the top of a standing lamp. As you can see, here's the sofa, and our sofa's broken. So the one arm is just hanging on by the end, and the second arm is here in this baggie. So at least it's all there. So today's video is going to be all about, I guess, welding it back together. And with it being die cast, that's not an easy job. And you can see here's the little lamp. That is so cute. I just love that lamp. I just think it's adorable. So, and you can see, what else do I have here? Just kind of bringing out all the pieces so that you can see them all. I've also got, here's the bottom of the floor lamp. So that's quite cute. And then the fourth piece that I got, fourth major piece that I got, is this gramophone. And you can see here that it opens at the top. I actually have a little toy gramophone that might fit in that. So I'm just going to put everything aside and set to repairing this furniture. So with it being die cast, of course, you know, you cannot weld it and you cannot solder it. So the only thing that's kind of left to do is super glue. So I'm kind of liking this Gorilla super glue. I really like the precision tip on the end of it. It seems to work quite well. So I've watched several videos on how to repair metal and plastic items, like things that are really hard to repair with super glue. And what they've been saying is to use a combination of super glue and a cotton swab. So this is the first time that I've ever done this, so I'm really hopeful that it's going to work out. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to glue the items into place and do it as carefully as possible and kind of hold it there for a second. And then I'm going to glue the part that's completely missing. Now, if I would have just left this with just super glue, I don't think that, well, I know for sure it would not bond. There's something about die cast metal that's just so difficult to get it to repair. So I have a couple of Tootsietoy dressers that came with missing back feet. And what I did was I actually super glued a nail in the back where you can't see it because it's up against the dollhouse wall. And then I used tape over that and super glued the tape. But I think this cotton swab idea is a little bit more effective. So see here, I'm just kind of, oops. See what I mean about it just not holding with just super glue on its own? Because, I mean, if that was any other type of surface, it would have adhered already. So I'm just going to take as best as I can. And this is like an awkward job. It's not easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap the cotton around the joint. And then I'm just going to add super glue to it. And what happens is when this bonds, it stays kind of wet for a little bit, so you have a chance to kind of mold it around. You see, just kind of stick it as best I can. So, and you know, the whole point is we've just got to make sure that it's covering both sides of the break. So you can see here, I'm just tapping it in and molding it around because I don't want it to be noticeable once the glue is dried. So yeah, it's not an easy job. So okay, so I'm trying not to use my fingers because there's nothing worse than getting crazy glue on your fingers. So we're just gonna, whoops, see here. You gotta have a lot of patience when you're doing this. So I'm gonna line it up again with my fingers and smooth it out. You have to get enough of this cotton on it so that it's like really gonna have a bond. And yes, I've resorted to using my fingers. It's just too fiddly to do with the toothpick alone. So I'm just going in behind because I want it to wrap all the way around. That's looking good. So finally I feel like I've got a bond here. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more just to make sure that it's really, really, really going to cover this joint. And I know it looks super awkward, but the results are just unbelievable. So I'm just continuing on and putting quite a bit on here. Don't worry though, whatever excess that you have can be removed afterwards. I know it doesn't look like it's removable, but yes, it absolutely is. So, and it actually molds right to the piece quite nicely. And I'm going to turn the toothpick around. The other side's a little bit messy. You can see here I'm just like kind of smoothing it over. Yeah, I just want to make sure that it's going on straight. So again, I'm adding more of the super glue to it. There we go. Just kind of molding it. Okay, and then I'm just going to do the same thing with the top corner. Just wrap it around. Put the super glue on it. And create a bond to cover where the two items are split. So I just want to make sure that I've got a little bit of the super glue and the cotton swab on either side of the break to make sure that it's really, really going to adhere it good. So I've let it dry for at least an hour and it's completely solid, like completely solid. Nothing is budging on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an emery board and I'm just going to sand it. So, I mean, it's not going to be absolutely perfect, but it is quite sandable and you can make the surface look quite nice. So I'm just going to go over where the cotton swab is a little on the thick side and sand it off. It's actually looking like pretty smooth already. You can see here. So anywhere where you've got excess cotton swab, you want to just sand it down and blend it into the original metal. I'm trying not to be too aggressive with it because after all it is like a very, very old piece of dollhouse furniture. But otherwise unusable if it's broken, so you got to do your best with it. So, and I'm just kind of sanding it off here, making it look as neat as I possibly can. So now I got out some gold acrylic paint. It's not an exact match, but it's very close. But unfortunately, because it is acrylic, it's going to take a few coats. So, and I'm just going to kind of cover up all the white. It's a little lighter, it dries darker. So, yeah, so it's going on here pretty smoothly. I know it looks really rough in these photos with the way I'm filming it, but when you see the end product, you'll be completely shocked as to how good it actually turns out. So now I'm trying to decide what kind of fabric to use to recover the seats in. Um, you know, I want something, well, I can't really leave the original fabric. It's just way too stained and ugly. And I am planning on showcasing these pieces of furniture in my dollhouse. So I want something that's going to be bright and clean and new. So I've got these two pieces of fabric to look at. I've got these two pieces. Like, I like the fact that they've got little tiny prints, which is in scale with the furniture. And I think I'm gonna go for this chocolate brown. I really actually like this color. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to lay out the sofa seat here and cut out around this little seat, make a new seat cover for it. So I'm not going to remove any of the original fabric. I'm just going to leave it right where it is. But I am going to glue this fabric over top of it. So I'm just going to kind of give it at least a 1/4 of an inch all the way around. So there you go. I think that's going to look quite nice. And I think it'll go quite nicely with the gold as well. So... okay, so now I've got my fabric. I'm going to turn it to the side here. Okay, and so I've got it so it's good side out. And then I'm just going to fold it to make sure it's large enough, which I'm pretty sure it is. So I'm just gonna grab a toothpick or cocktail stick and put some tacky glue on it. Sometimes I use fabric glue for doing upholstery, but this is underneath, so I think the tacky glue will be just fine. So I'm just adhering the tacky glue all the way across the side, making sure that it's got a generous amount so that it holds it quite nicely. Okay, and now we're going to fold it up. Can pick it up. Sometimes I wonder why I do miniatures, because my hands are just, I fumble with everything. Okay, there we go. So I'm just folding it over. I'm gonna actually be quite pleased with this, I think, when it's done. So I don't want it to be so bulky on the corners, so I'm just gonna go ahead and trim a little triangle out of each corner. There we go. 3 and 4. There we go. So I've got all the triangles cut out of it. So then I'm going to go ahead and glue this part up. So again, get my cocktail stick out and slather it with quite a bit of glue. And then when I fold it up, I'm going to leave the corners. You'll see the way I do it. Hold on here. So I fold it up, and then I pinch the corners so that they're sticking straight up. And we could go back and trim those off afterwards to see how they're sticking up. It's just so that it's not so bulky, because remember, I've got to be able to put this seat back into the die-cast metal chair, And if it's too bulky, then it's just not going to fit back in. So that's why I chose to do it that way. So again, I'm slathering a little bit more of the tacky glue on it and pushing it up. And then I've got the little corners, which I'm gonna see how I'm pinching them up. We're gonna go back afterwards and we're going to trim those off at the end. Okay, and I put a little clamp on it. And of course I'm gonna go ahead and do the same for the other two pieces. So now it's dry, and see where I had pinched up those corners? So there you go. I'm just trimming them off. Just taking the clamps off, and I'm gonna trim them off. So that would have been all too bulky had I done it any other way. So that's why I chose to do it this way. So then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do the other chair and the sofa. Oops, I got a little extra string here. Well, here it is finished up. And as you can see, yeah, you can see that weld a little bit on the left side of the sofa. But you know what? I think it still looks terrific. Much better than it having it broken for sure. And it will make a lovely addition to one of my doll houses. As a matter of fact, I might use it in my GB dollhouse when I do my parlor, which shall be my next video. Please subscribe and hit that like button, and please tell your friends about my channel. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you learned something about repairing die-cast furniture. Well, thank you very much. Please subscribe.